Morning guys, afternoon, evening, wherever the time is. Welcome back to another video. If you hadn't guessed, I'm in Terry the Taxi. If you haven't been introduced to Terry the Taxi, click a link somewhere and you will see Terry the Taxi and how she came to be. You can notice as well, there's a shed load of stuff in the back of Terry right now. That is not a passenger. So we've got Christmas trees that we haven't got rid of since December, and I need to take them to the tip, so that's where I am. You'll see here. See, in the queue. That's how busy it is on a Saturday afternoon. Just opened again after lunch. Rammed. Why are you in Terry, Ross? Don't you have a bigger car to use? I do. Good question. I didn't really want to put a dying, well, that's dead, isn't it? Dead Christmas tree, 2 dead Christmas trees in the back of Roger the Range Rover, and there's loads of broken bamboo fence blew down, so there was a ton of that. I would have fit that in the Range Rover, so Terry comes to the rescue, and here we are in a queue in Terry. But she's minging as well, so I'm going to drop all this stuff off at the tip, and I've just remembered, or realised even, I don't have a mask with me, and I need one for the tip. So I'm going to see if I can fashion one out of this dirty cloth, like a complete and utter twat. Then I'm going to go and wash Terry, and let's have a look at all of the different things that actually need fixing on Terry. I tried to do this previously, it was snowing, it was shit. I'm going to give a bit of a walk round, and yeah, make a list of things that need eventually sorting, just to get it back up to par, really. So let me wait in this arduous queue, and then we'll get round to washing it, and then we'll assess the situation. I have to say, one thing that I've realised in driving this today, the suspension, it needs a little bit of tweaking, I'm not going to lie. I think very close to 308,979 miles have taken its toll, assuming this is original suspension for that time, on the shocks. It's bouncier than a waterbed, so they're going to need to go on the list. But first, let me get this shit out of the way and I'll circle back. Oh my god, I'm talking in business bullshit. Let me reach out to you and I will circle back when I have completed this task in 4 fucking years time. Right, finally got through that queue, but it's left that's a bit of a mess. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. I have to say, this is one great thing about like the material on these seats. If you didn't know, this material is kind of like coated with some sort of plastic, which is obviously great for when you're a taxi driver, because you want to be able to clean this shit as quickly and easy as possible, and people tend to be dirty. So shit, I'm now at the thing and I need the washing thing and I need to move. Right, so I'm going to go and wash the car now, and hopefully it doesn't leak everywhere. I went to try and get the, what's it called, car wash, the manual jobby, do yourself. This thing's never seen a car wash in a long time. It needs a good old clean, on the outside and the inside, but I'm just doing the outside even. But my card never works. The Revolut card never works in that machine. It has to be a specific type of card, which is obviously a massive pain in the arse. So and I don't have any other card with me, so that's not exactly handy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go home, I'm going to see if I have any of the jetons, because you need special tokens to wash your car, and then I'm going to head back and see if I can get it to work. The deep bloody joy. So I'll head back in a second and I'll try and wash this fucking thing. Let's try this again. Christ's sake. Windscreen wipers might be on my list. They're fucking useless. I don't know what they are, but they are absolutely useless. Even with water, don't get me wrong. I mean, they were. They're not exactly good though. So maybe then. That's clean apparently. Fucking A. Nice. I can't see shit. Bit moist, but that'll do. That's clean enough. Jesus Christ, bit moist was a bit of an understatement. Fucking soaked. But she's clean! I can see! Let's go get some washer fluid for the Rangy. I've literally just fucking cleaned it. Like, literally. I'm wiping that off, I was gonna do my edit. And there we go. I mean, shut the fuck up, dog. She ain't perfect. I mean, that's fucking for sure. Probably just making it worse, to be honest. Well, I can semi-see myself in it, so that's kind of better than it was, right? Bonus. She'll do. She'll do. The inside needs cleaning, but she will currently do. Now, with this, she actually looks quite good. Until you look at all the problems. So we've addressed it before. There's issues with the front headlights. You can see how shitty and dark they are. They need doing. Front bumper also needs doing, really. Yeah, I mean, look. You can just see the damage there. There's also a bit of damage on that front wing, but mainly on the front bumper. Can I put a dog down? They're not mine. Just really annoying. Also got a bit of cosmetics down at the bottom here. You see there's obviously been a bit of a... It's fucking dirty. I've literally just... It's obviously been caught somewhere there, so that's a bit of a crack there. You know, just generally the bodywork is I mean, it's a bit rough. It's got 310,000 fucking miles on it. It's not going to be perfect at all. I'm not really that bothered about the bodywork per se. So I've had a look round. One of the things you can probably notice, I know that there's a slight slope on here, but the suspension sags dramatically down to this side, like properly. Now, I'm not really too bothered about the actual bodywork at the moment. That dog, honestly, is going to send me nuts. Shut up! I'm not really too fussed about the bodywork. It's going to be ratty, but I'm getting a bit more confident in it, so I went round the corner a little bit spiritedly. Is that a word? Yeah. And you can tell that there's got a slow puncher on the front there, but at the same time, the suspension sags so badly that it starts catching on the inner arch, because there's like no shock left. I think it's just holes instead. So shocks need replacing, but I had a plan for that. Now, they do standard shocks, which would be fine, but I actually wouldn't mind seeing if I could find a company, any companies fancy it, making some custom shocks, because I want them smaller. So I want to essentially lower it without having to chop the springs, and I want to get some slightly shorter and uprated shocks. I know that sounds stupid, but if I can get rid of the body roll out of the suspension and the body roll out of the tyres, then this thing will be much more easy to control. Now, obviously I want to make it handle better. It's rear-wheel drive, which should be fun, but it's so wallowy that everything's just taken out in the body. So I want to kind of eliminate that, and if I'm going to replace the shocks anyway, I may as well look to see if I can get something slightly smaller and slightly better. On retaining my budget. Now, if you look as well, you'll see what you will normally find here is what? Strut tops, right? You tell me where the strut, I mean, where are they? They're not there. It's really weird. So I'm trying to work out how they attach. Even under here, I mean, where's the shock? Where is it? All right, I'm getting under. I'm intrigued. All right, let's get under. See if we can find out. Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. That's an interesting setup. So you've got, at least, there is actually a front anti-roll bar. So we've got a front anti-roll bar there, which is fine, which actually has, what's the dampers for that? Steering dampening or suspension dampening? Something. But then you've got your spring with your shock sitting inside. But if you look, that's as much of the shock as you've got. That's like less than, it's probably 30 centimetres shock. I mean, makes it an easy thing to change, which is probably why it's designed like that. But can you get something custom for that? I want to find something custom for that so I can drop it without losing. I don't want to chop the springs. I mean, I could. I don't really want to. I mean, I could, but I'd rather do it properly, you know. So if anyone knows anyone that does kind of anything for a taxi, I doubt they will though. That's really, really strange. So I reckon I'm gonna have to find someone that would do a shock similar to that. I want it, so basically, it currently doesn't have enough power to make it any fun being rear wheel drive. The main issue with it though is that the suspension's just absolutely, I mean, it's a taxi, but you can't even make it out, but it rocks like mad. The suspension is probably 300,000 miles old, so it definitely needs a bit of a going over. But if you take this side, I mean, this side alone is properly worn. It just sags like hell, and it's like, so that would definitely need doing. Lights, I'm not really asked. Like, I don't take out at night. They do need doing, I'm aware of them, but I'll do them at some point. I'd rather get the suspension better. Fuck's ATF oil. Oh shit. What is it? Well, it's full. I don't know what it is, but it's full. I'll tell you what, there's been some great guys that are following, subscribing, whatever you call it, that either have one of these, drove one of these for a living. So shout out to you guys. Thanks very much for your comments and everything. I really appreciate it. It's nice to share little stories. Not many people have these, so it's quite fun to have. And you're a font of knowledge as well. So a massive shout out to you guys and enjoy the journey. I'm looking forward to learning from you guys, telling me what the hell I'm doing or not. But then we look at the engine, right? So it's actually quite spacious under here when you consider how much space is taken up by like the shroud for the radiator. So this is the radiator, and I'm assuming, look how fat that is. So that's literally starts back here, and that's that thick. So it goes all the way up to here. But then you've got the gap between here and the front. I'm assuming it's because if there's ever a front impact, you've got all of this, which can easily be bolted off. I mean, this thing's designed to be bolt off and bolt on to make it as easy as possible to maintain. I get that. So I'm assuming that they've left this massive gap so that even if it caves the front in, you've still got all of this space and before it actually damages anything here. Now, but beyond this as well, but that takes up, if you look at that, that's, you know, 30 centimetres of space there. And now if you look back here as well, the block's actually fairly small. So it only, I'm going to have to do some measurements because I want to work out what would fit in this. You've got your engine mounts down. God, where are they? Down there somewhere. Nice little turbo on it. If you know, you know. But things look fairly new. If you can't quite make it out, oh, there you can. That looks like the starter down there. If I can focus on the damn thing, that looks like the starter. That looks pretty damn new. I'm not going to lie. Diesel filter. That looks pretty new. Alternator doesn't look bad either. Everything looks in pretty decent nick, but that's not surprising because these things are maintained pretty damn well from a mechanical point of view to keep them running. So that's good. But I kind of want to get rid of this and put something like fun in it, or more powerful, I should say. Something that makes pew, pew noises. But at the same time, it's got to fit, and I reckon I can make it fit by moving all of this and bringing it forwards. I could fit behind this section here a radiator, and look behind here, look at this, fuck me, the size of that crash bar there. I think that's the oil cooler that you can see just to the bottom there. But you could fit a front mount and a massive radiator and fan behind that grill that would only come up to, say, this level, which would give me an extra, you know, you could really fit from here back to your space you've got there to fit an engine in that. And you've got plenty of space down here going backwards, so that's not an issue. The main issue is looking at the gearbox, how this bolts up and what you've got there, and then working out how this mounts up. I wouldn't mind if anyone knows of any kind of schematics or diagrams where I can actually have a look at where the engine mounts up, so I can kind of look at different engines and see, I need an engine that will go that way and not horizontally long ways, that I can either mount to that box. I doubt I use that box though, because it's shit. I wouldn't mind a better one. Yeah, so I'm eyeing up different engines, different options for that. One part of me says that a nice LS V8 would sit nicely in that little gap, but I'm not sure it would. When you look at the gap, I mean, I can move all of this stuff out the way so I'd have more space. If you think about it, I'm going to have from kind of this space all coming back here, so it might fit. But at the same time, LS aren't exactly cheap, and it would have to have one of these on it. It would have to have a turbo on it. So that's something to consider as well. I then looked at options like the 18T. So I default to shit that I know, basically, which is like VW and Audi shit. So the 1.8 20 valve turbo engine's pretty solid. You could probably get it up to 450, 500, but you're pushing it then, especially if I don't build the block. So I reckon comfortably I'll get 350 with a big turbo on it, and you can get them in this direction as well because they are used in Audi A4s, which go on this way. The engines are cheap, and size-wise, I think that'll fit no problem. And yeah, there's plenty of parts for them. So because they're put in loads of different cars anyway, it's a kind of not a bad option to have. But then I was looking at things like the BMW engines. I don't really know my BMW engines. I think it's the N54, something like that. I think 3 litre turbo. That would be a laugh. It's obviously got a much bigger capacity, being 3 litre versus the 1.8, so it would take more power. That's an option, but again, they cost more and I don't know them as well. But if anyone's got any suggestions, I'm currently kind of tied between LS, the 1.8T Vaglump, and the BMW engine. But again, I'm not sure size-wise whether it will fit along this space. I'll have to do some measuring and have a look at different blocks. But if you've got any suggestions that you think will work, slap it in the comments. I'd love to hear that. But first and foremost, to make it more fun, I am going to concentrate on where I can find some suspension. So just shocks and springs that will fit, or I can get custom made to fit this engine. So if you know anywhere, know any custom suspension makers, Jesus, don't try and do this one-handed. This bonnet weighs a metric ton. Like I said, not really bothered. I know the headlights need doing, but I'd really prefer to concentrate on this side of things I also think it would be really cool if I can drop it slightly, stiffen up the suspension front and rear. I need to have a look on the rear. If anyone knows equally if there's a anti-roll bar on the back of this. I obviously saw there was one on the front. I haven't had a look. Oh fuck it, let's have a look. What's the suspension setup? Well, there's the bump stops. You can see those bump stops there. You've got your springs. Get under it a bit more far. You've got your springs in there. But where are your shocks, or are they not? Or do we operate a different system back here? If we're operating a different system, that's... Oh no, there we go. You've got your shocks on the front there, just next to the bump stops. So I can get some shorter versions of those, some slightly shorter springs, shorter bump stops, and that should stiffen up the rear as well. And I mean, this exhaust looks pretty good condition, not that I care at the moment, but still. And it does look like there's an anti-roll bar that you can see just there, so it has got one. Why am I asking? Good question. Celine's back. Hey Celine. She needs a wash too. Quick one on this one actually, before I tell you why I want to sort the suspension out on this. On the C1, aside from a wash your dirty little... she needs to go for control technique, MOT equivalent, so she's going to go in there and get one of those. But we've also, I follow quite a lot of local tracks, you know, like car tracks, race tracks, all that sort of governs in the area. And they put up there that there's a Women's Day, sexist, but I'm not going to go into that, it's fine, for free. So you turn up in your own car and you can race your own cars, as long as you're a woman, for free, between 3:30 and 6:30 in the evening. Seems like a deal. I'm not a woman though, so what does that mean? It means I'm not going. But who is? That's right, Philly is. Philippa is going to go on a track day, her first track day, and she was like, I'll take the Evoque. That's not a good idea on your first track day. So she's going to take this. So yeah, I need to get it for a control technique first, get all that sorted. But I've also got some lowering springs for it, which will make it handle so much better. So I'm going to try and get those on before that date. But I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I've got time. So I'm going to try and find out. But that needs to be done because that will make it handle so much better around the track. And if you haven't seen like the Bad Obsession Motorsport, what they did with the C1 series, it was fantastic. They dropped theirs. They also put the same exhaust we have on, and they kept the engine the same. So it's possible to have fun around the track with one of these. So I need to try and get that suspension sorted before I do that. So the question on everyone's lips, Ross, why do you give a shit about the suspension and why do you want to change it? Well, they obviously care about the comfort of the suspension for a taxi when they're using it as a taxi. But with that, it's got incredibly large sidewalls on those tyres, and which means there's a lot of body roll in there. So I'd like to try and find a partner that can sort us out some custom wheels so we can reduce that and it handles a bit better. Why do you want a taxi to handle better? Look, it's rear wheel drive, it's a bit of a laugh. I won't be able to replace the engine right now. I mean, I just don't have time for one. But at the same time, I would like to. It's just super fun, but it's so rolly. And if I'm going to replace the suspension anyway with just stock suspension, it's still going to be rolly. It's just going to be slightly less rolly. I've said rolly a lot. Rolly. But so if I then change the suspension, find someone that can make some shocks that aren't going to cost me an arm and a leg, and I can have the springs slightly smaller, then I can drop it. I can stiffen it up, and if I stiffen up the rear anti-roll bar, if I can get one of those as well, or find a way to stiffen it or brace it in some way so it is stiffer on the rear, it means when it's rear wheel drive it's a lot more snappy. You want a looser front, tighter rear, so to speak. Don't quote me on that. But I found as well, one way to do that, you could remove the front anti-roll bar, and that would have a bit of fun out the back then. But I still want a bit more control over the front. I don't want that to get too loose. So what I'm going to plan on doing is try and search for somewhere that can sort me out. I need to look at the specs of those wheels as well. I've got no idea, but they're like this at the front. They're tiny, tiny in the sidewalls like this. So I need to look at what specs will fit it. Then what I need to do is try and find some shocks and springs, and And yeah, that's kind of my first. Like the bodywork aside, it's never going to be a Minter. It's never going to be that. So what I'm going to concentrate on is make it a bit more functionally fun. So as soon as I've done that, and I still want to get this taxi sign working, I haven't found anywhere that can do that yet. So if you know someone that can get the taxi light working, let me know. And if you've made it this far, all I've really done is take stuff to the tip and wash the car and tell you what I'm going to do. But we need an update. We need an update on the taxi, and I enjoyed taking it out, so it's good fun. I need to get stuff sorted. I need to make a list, so I'm going to go back inside now, make a list, and I will see you next time when I might actually make some progress on these sorts of things. But do let me know if you know any more about sort of engine fitment, or just any guys, so I can find out more pictures about that one, so I can kind of line up where mounts are. Same as the suspension, or if you know any people that make custom shocks and springs, that would be massively helpful as well. Otherwise I have to do a lot of Googling and many things. Anyway, peace out, I'll see you on the next one, and have a lovely day.
When you say victory, make sure you mention me. Top billing on the top dog, history of my pedigree. Some say I'm a handball, others say I'm a standout. Hands down, it was hard work, never needed a handout, no. I gotta shine hard, so I grind hard, whoa. Overtime plus the time card, shooting star, I'm gassed up. Yeah, I don't need no rocket ship. Time is money, is well spent. Use common sense, I'm excellent, excellent, always excellent, excellent, excellent.